In this video, I'm going to be covering the GTM playbook that we use at my company RevGrowth to generate 176 leads in October 2025. So this was last month. Here is some more proof of this. I'm not going to scroll through the whole thing, but yeah, so I'm going to cover the playbook that we use to do this. Of course, not all these leads were qualified, but it was a pretty solid amount of lead flow for our lead generation offer, right? One thing I'd like to note is we are definitely a little more leveraged in content. We're not really doing as much outbound, but this playbook still applies to pretty much anyone who's looking to do this. So yeah, I'm just going to dive into this. Another thing I want to note too is we do have a very good offer. We are offering a free part of our service on the front end. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And that's something that I highly advise a lot of B2B companies who maybe have a more saturated offering to do is, offer some sort of lead magnet or free part of your service on the front end to attract your ideal customers and then eventually close them on a paid service. I'll dive into that a bit more later, but so diving into the actual playbook, I'll start with the outbound side of things actually. I'll go into content after, but content and outbound, these things kind of can work in unison in different ways. Everything is unified within this. Really, our two main channels at the moment is just outbound and content. We don't do ads at all. We just do outbound and content at the moment. So when it comes to outbound, sourcing data, what it's going to look like, we have a few different data sources that we can pull from. I would say since we're pretty leveraged in content, really intent signals is our main data source that we action upon via outbound. We don't really do a whole lot of high volume outbound for ourselves at the moment. I mean, that's something that we're going to dive into more like Q1 of 2026, but it's just something that we don't really need to do at the moment, to be honest. So, we're really, pushing through content and then doing outbound off our content. But the way intent signals will work, so probably at least my personal favorite signal that we track is going to be actual LinkedIn engagement. And this is something that we can do via Triggerify. So Triggerify can monitor LinkedIn profiles and we can scrape the people who engage with certain posts and put them, push them to Clay, find their email and all that, and then outreach to them. So this is powerful for us because, we post on LinkedIn. And so we get people engaging with our content. And then what we can do is we can scrape these people every day. It's monitored every 24 hours. This list gets updated. And then we can qualify each of these people, find our qualified prospects, and then outreach to these people via LinkedIn DMs, via email. And these people are extra hot, right? Because they're actively engaged with our content. They know who we are. They know we're experts, or at least, you'd think so. So these are hot prospects, right? We have a lot of authority leading into this outreach by reaching out to people who engage with the content. Another one is profile visitors. This isn't as strong as a signal, but you can definitely get a good amount of volume off this signal because you're gonna have more people visiting your profile versus liking your content in most cases. Another one is website visitors. I would say this is probably the weakest signal of all the three. Website visitors, there's like different cases for this. I would say the two main scenarios in which paying for tools like our B2B is worth it because they're expensive tools is in cases where one, you're getting a lot of website traffic, so at least 10,000 visitors per month or more, and then two, you have a very niche offer, like very niche service. It's like the only way someone can come across your website is because they had to actively search for it. It's something that's very niche. Because let's say, for example, we had a client that they offer like a CBAM CRM service. It's so niche. You're not just randomly scrolling the internet and you come across that, right? It's super niche. So people who visit their website have a lot more intent versus, let's say, you come across like a lead generation website, which tons of businesses are just randomly checking these people out. So it kind of depends on the case. But I'd really say, if you can, like base minimum using Triggerify is really good. Thing is, you can still use it even if you don't post content because you can actually track your competitors who post content and scrape their following or scrape their engagement and then reach out to those people. So you're kind of stealing and leveraging their engagement. And it's totally legal. You can do it, but those people are interested in the same service that you provide if they're engaged with the competitors, right? So that's the intent signal side of things. Of course, then there's databases. So depending on what we're going after, let's say we're going after companies who recently raised a Series A, then we can use to like Crunchbase, or we are looking for companies with a specific technology that we can use Built With, or if we're looking for agencies, we can use Clutch, local businesses, et cetera, we can find, you can find these databases. The easiest way to go about this is just if you're looking for like a very specific data set, just go to GPT-03 or Perplexity Deep Research, and then simply ask it, hey, can you give me a list of databases that would be best fit for finding X, data set, right? So, and then it's going to give you a list of options: paid, free, scrapable, not scrapable. And then from there, we import that data into Apollo and then of course run it to Clay. We also run lookalike lists. So any of our best clients, we'll develop a list around that. This is probably our favorite list to build when it comes to like our own internal outbound. So lookalikes are great. Definitely recommend them. If you use a tool like DiscoLike for this. Yeah, they're called DiscoLike. Yeah, because they used to be Panda Match, now they're DiscoLike. You can use DiscoLike, you can use Ocean.io. I believe Clay has a lookalike feature now. So there's a lot of different tools that offer this lookalike feature that you can use. And then next is going to be online directories. So what this is so using the same method we use for finding niche databases by just going to GPT-03 or Perplexity Deep Research. What we're going to do is we're going to ask GPT-03 or Perplexity Deep Research for online directories. So what this looks like, this is just a free online forum that is set up in a data set like way that allows us to scrape it. So we can use a tool like Instant Data Scraper, or if you develop your own custom scraper, you can do that. But with this, we can find very niche data on this, right? Because, you know, these are just random directories, and also the data is completely free. A case in which we've done this, we had a client that was targeting the American Institute of Architects, and they want us to scrape that database because they wanted to go after companies that were specifically affiliated with that organization. So we were able to, you know, sign up for, or we were able to just, you know, sift through specifically using deep research to find a part of their website that had the full, you know, data set list of all the companies listed out, and we were able to scrape that with Instant Data Scraper. And it's a very niche data set. You can't get anywhere else other than that specific directory. So there's a lot of cases like that. Another good case of this is finding, let's say, like government forums where there's companies that have submitted a specific, or they filed for a specific regulation, things like that. That's another great case for this. So if you're looking for companies that have like a certain filing or certain regulations, you can find that typically on government forums, and that's, you know, potentially scrapable, right? You have to do your research. This is definitely one of the more difficult ways of building a lead list, but it can be very rewarding. Next is going to be Google Maps. So this is definitely best case for any local businesses. Scraping Google Maps for local is definitely the best data set you can get, undoubtedly. Like, you can use a tool like D7 Lead Finder, but Google Maps is a lot better. It's better than Apollo. You get, like, we've tested it. The data we get from Apollo is only 1/4 of what you can get from Google Maps when it comes to local leads. So simply using Google Maps, you can 4 to 10x your TAM versus just trying to use Apollo to find these contacts. But with Google Maps, what we can do is use Clay to scrape Google Maps because they have a Google Maps feature within it. And you can use tools like Serper to scrape even more. That covers the data side of things regarding outbound. The way we're going to action on this is going to be via Clay, doing our typical contact enrichment, and then we can push to email, LinkedIn, phone numbers, or cold calling. But I want to cover the content side of things now, because this will sort of tie into the actual outbound. So for content, there's going to be 3 main channels that we're currently leveraging. I mean, I could add YouTube to this, but I mean, there's not really much automation we can do off that. Anyways, you know, the 3 main channels we use is going to be LinkedIn, our newsletter, and then Twitter, right? On the front end, we're just, of course, be posting content. I'll cover Twitter first. So how Twitter's going to work, we use a tool called Tweet Hunter to set up our tweets, to schedule tweets. I post 5 tweets per day. I've seen that to be the most optimal cadence for lead generation. We do 2 auto DMs per week, and every post that we post, after about like 10 likes, it's going to, the automation via Tweet Hunter is going to post, or it's going to comment a plug comment under each of these tweets. So what that looks like, it's just a link to our lead magnet form, which is essentially how we're gathering a lot of these leads, right? We use a tool called fillout.com. We create a form. We're offering free email campaigns to leads who are qualified, and what they can do is the CTA is, for instance, you know, if you're a B2B company and you're interested in running outbound, you can sign up for a free campaign with us. And that's, you know, that alone has significantly increased our lead flow. I'd say almost, you know, I can't even come with a number off the top of my head right now, but it's significantly increased our lead flow. So I highly recommend doing things like this. And to give you, you know, this is not just like some concept I came up with. Hormozy actually talks about this. So Hormozy, he ran a test. This is mentioned in $100 million money models. He ran a test between 2 gym businesses. One was offering free stuff on the front end. The other one wasn't offering you free stuff. And they saw that the business that was offering free, I forgot what it was, but it was like some sort of free lead magnet, was getting 9x more leads, but also closing at the same rate as the paid gym. So they're getting 9x more leads. They're closing at the exact same rate. So they're essentially closing 9x more deals by just offering something for free on the front end, right? Because a lot of people think like, oh, if you're offering something for free, you can get a lot of tire kickers, which you will get more tire kickers, of course. But rich people still want free stuff, and you're going to get qualified prospects who are interested in your free service, right? So it's definitely worth it. I highly recommend it, especially if you're struggling with lead flow. Newsletter. So I mean, the way that's going to work, I mean, we also plug that via our content as well. They get sent to Beehive. The way we capture newsletter submissions is typically through a lead magnet form. So, you know, we'll offer some sort of free course, and once they, add their email, they get the course, but then they're also added to the newsletter. And Within Beehive, within our email sequence flows, we're going to be offering the free lead magnet, which then pushes to the email the opt-in lead magnet for the free campaigns for people who are interested. And that's just another way of capturing lead flow. And yeah, this all goes to fill out. LinkedIn, pretty similar thing. With LinkedIn, there's a lot more opportunity for automation to, work off of for outbound. So as I mentioned earlier, how we can use Triggerify to actually scrape the people who engage with the content, qualify them, and then reach out via LinkedIn or email. You can't really do that on Twitter. You can't scrape their email, and you can't really qualify them. Our LinkedIn's amazing because you can see like what the job role is, what company they work at, all that. Twitter, you can't really do that, at least for the meantime. And there's a lot of, people who are just like anonymous profiles who could be buyers. But anyways, so yeah, it's LinkedIn, we use Canva for graphic design. That's what our graphic designer uses, I believe. And then Taplio for any content scheduling. Once you post content, of course, we're having Teamfluence and Triggerify monitor our profiles, and then we're pushing our leads into the free email lead magnet, which then pushes the fill out. And then it's added to, so from fill out, any leads that submit, they can be sent to CRM. We do have some hard qualification data directly within the form itself. So if someone marks that they're below a certain revenue level, they're pretty much immediately disqualified and they're added to a specific sequence for that. But for people, we still also push the leads into Clay to qualify them even further based off of their domain and all that. And then if it makes sense, we can add them to email campaigns, LinkedIn campaigns, cold calling if that makes sense as well. So when it comes to email, when it comes to outbound, again, we have a few different channels. We have email, LinkedIn, and then cold calling. And we also do Twitter DMs. I don't have that here because it's honestly not an automated process. It's actually manual at the moment. So that's something they could do as well. If you're active on Twitter, definitely a solid channel. It's actually very underrated. My Twitter DMs is very underrated. Definitely works. But yeah, so the different action channels we have is email, LinkedIn, cold calling. The tools we use for this is going to be Email Bison for the sequencer, Scaled Mail for email accounts, and then NAN, this is going to be for any sort of like reply management workflows. LinkedIn, we're going to be using HeyReach, and then Sales Navigator for leads, and then cold calling, we're going to be using a tool called Ready Mode for the calls. Then this is going to funnel into Master Inbox and Outbound Sync, which will then push to our CRM. We use Adio at the moment, so Outbound Sync, we actually don't use Outbound Sync internally because we're using Adio, since the only reason why is because Outbound Sync doesn't currently integrate with Adio. But if it did, we would definitely use it. But we set this up for our clients. So like a good amount of our clients use HubSpot. So we set up Outbound Sync to route to the HubSpot for any leads that we generate. Now diving into like the RevOps side of things. I mean, it's pretty simple. Really, it's just pushing up data into the CRM. So people fill out the form, and people who are engaged via outbound will be added to the CRM. This is where we can update for lead follow-up. And then beyond this point, we're pushing for the call. Calendly, we're going to set up a pre-call sequence where we're going to be sharing our sales assets. We'll share our VSL, we'll share our case studies, and then we're going to send a few more emails before the call. Hop in the Google Meet to be recorded by Fireflies. And then all this is going to be updated for the contact within the CRM. And then pretty much we're just like rerunning this process until we send over the contract and then they're marked as closed won. So that's our full process. And again, this form or this flow did generate us 176 leads in October. I'd say a big proponent of that was really that free offer we created in the front end. But the way we're capturing the leads off of that is very, very important, which is covered in this. And this is applicable for any B2B business. So I highly recommend implementing this. And of course, if this is a lot of work, so you have companies like us who can help out with building this out for you guys. So if you're interested in building out a GTM playbook like this, of course, feel free to book a call with me. If you're interested in a free campaign, you can fill out the form that we have as well. I'll probably leave a link to it. I'll leave a link to it below. I'll also leave a link to just booking a call with me directly. And also, if you just want to know how to do this for yourself, we are also offering a do-it-yourself program. So we have two options. We have an option where we just give you pretty much all of our SOPs and trainings. You can go build it all yourself. But then we have a second option where we actually set up the base infrastructure for you, being an Email Bison account and the email accounts for you. And then you just pop in there. You're ready to send email outbound right from the get-go outside of the 2 weeks warm up. And then I'm going to give you our 78 trainings and SOPs. That's going to outline absolutely everything that you need to know to be able to run outbound campaigns at a very high proficient level. Plus, I even added some content trainings into that as well, so you can replicate this same process. So if you're interested in that, there's going to be links below for all of that. I also have a newsletter. You can sign up to that too. I'm actually posting it a lot more often now, sharing some valuable stuff in there as well. But yeah, if you found this valuable, let me know. Again, links are below for anything if you're interested in engaging with us anyway. Again, hope you found this valuable. Thanks.